Don and Scott, the meeting wrapped up early because two trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make official decisions.
My seat by 82%. Know this, I am gonna come through on a landslide just like Trump did. Know that I will.
The small town of Doane, Illinois, has been thrust into chaos under the leadership of Mayor Tiffany Henyard, whose tenure has turned into a spectacle of controversy. From alleged financial scandals to public meltdowns, Hart has dominated headlines, overshadowing the town's needs with her larger-than-life persona. What should be a straightforward role in local governance has become a whirlwind of drama, leaving residents questioning her motives and competence. As the community struggles with the fallout of her actions, many are left wondering if Doane's future is being sacrificed for the sake of Hart's self-styled political saga.
We are citizens of Doane, and we will not continue to treat her.
Tiffany Henyard, who unapologetically dubs herself the super mayor of Dalton, has become a polarizing figure in local politics. Known for her flamboyant entrances and self-proclaimed titles like the People's Mayor and SLS Supervisor, Henyard has turned routine governance into a theatrical production. Her latest announcement, a re-election bid, came in the form of a dramatic Facebook post declaring, "Attention, attention, attention. I am running for re-election." However, instead of excitement, her bold proclamation has amplified calls for her resignation. Henyard's tenure has been plagued by accusations of mismanagement and public dissatisfaction, with many residents criticizing her for prioritizing self-promotion over effective leadership. Social media and community forums reveal growing discontent, with some labeling her re-election campaign as audacious or outright delusional. Despite this, Henyard remains steadfast, presenting herself as a determined leader deserving of another term. The stark contrast between her confident public persona and the frustrations of Dalton's residents underscores the tension surrounding her leadership. As her campaign unfolds, it raises critical questions about the town's future and whether Dalton can overcome the challenges it faces under her polarizing administration.
Prevented Supervisor Tiffany Henyard from filing a vacancy on the board. So what is going on and why?
To understand why Tiffany Henyard's time as mayor of Dalton has become so controversial, one must examine the financial turmoil that has defined her tenure. When Henyard took office, Dalton boasted a strong fiscal position, with a general fund balance exceeding $5 million. However, in just a few years, the town now faces a staggering deficit of over $3 million, a shocking reversal that has left residents demanding answers. Millions of taxpayer dollars have seemingly vanished, leaving the community grappling with the fallout of Henyard's fiscal mismanagement. The situation escalated when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was hired to investigate Dalton's finances. Her findings revealed a troubling pattern of questionable spending, including a jaw-dropping $40,000 single-day spree on Amazon, the details of which remain unclear. This extravagant and unexplained purchase became a flashpoint, symbolizing the lack of transparency that has plagued Henyard's administration. Critics argue that such actions reflect a misuse of public funds, treating the town's budget more like a personal account than a resource for community needs. An audit of Dalton's finances revealed additional troubling patterns, including high-value charges on the village's credit cards without proper documentation or oversight. From retail purchases to unexplained administrative costs, the spending appeared uncontrolled, fueling further outrage. As basic public services falter, streets remain in disrepair, schools lack resources, and vendors refuse to fulfill orders due to unpaid bills, the community's anger has reached a boiling point. One resident lamented during a heated town meeting, "It's not going to fix our roads or improve our schools." Encapsulating the growing frustration under Henyard's leadership, Dalton has spiraled into financial chaos, with the effects felt across every aspect of public life. Critics argue that her priorities lie in unchecked spending and self-promotion rather than addressing the pressing needs of her constituents. The lack of accountability has eroded trust in local governance, leaving residents questioning how such large-scale mismanagement could occur. As Dalton struggles to recover, it faces not only a fiscal crisis, but also a crisis of confidence in its leadership. a cautionary tale of the devastating consequences poor governance can have on a community.
Urban leaders spent the last few days handing out free turkeys ahead of Thanksgiving. But in Thornton Township, the trustees say embattled Supervisor
Tiffany Henyard's financial controversies are only part of the troubling narrative surrounding her leadership in Dalton. Her combative and dismissive approach to governance has alienated residents and board members alike, transforming public forums into arenas of frustration and confrontation. At a recent board meeting, Henyard's tardiness of over 30 minutes drew mocking remarks from the crowd, but instead of addressing their concerns, she lashed out, dismissing critics as fans obsessed with her. This condescending rhetoric exemplifies her tendency to prioritize defending her image over engaging in meaningful dialogue. Henyard's combative leadership has extended to unilateral decision-making that often bypasses protocols. One of the most controversial incidents was her appointment of Ronald Burge as police chief, despite his ineligibility due to an expired state certification. This decision not only defied legal standards but also sparked a legal battle, further deepening the dysfunction within her administration. Trustees have described her leadership as chaotic and self-serving, with one even refusing compensation in protest of her actions. Allegations of retaliation against political adversaries have also emerged, with reports that Henyard has leveraged her influence over law enforcement to target critics. Former police chief Robert Collins, fired without board approval, filed a lawsuit claiming Henyard instructed him to harass individuals she viewed as enemies. Trustees echoed similar concerns, alleging she used police officers to issue tickets and apply pressure on board members who opposed her directives. Adding to the dysfunction is the paralysis of local governance, as frequent clashes between Henyard and township trustees have left key issues unresolved. Trustees Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle recently boycotted a critical meeting, citing concerns about transparency and unvetted agenda items, which halted efforts to fill a board vacancy. Their actions underscored the growing demand for responsible and transparent leadership, highlighting the widening rift between Henyard's administration and the community it is meant to serve. Henyard's leadership style, marked by grandstanding, retaliation, and dismissiveness, has deepened the financial and operational crises facing Dalton. As the town struggles under the weight of mismanagement and deteriorating public services, residents are left questioning whether Henyard's focus lies in serving the community or merely advancing her own interests. Her tenure has become a cautionary tale of how personal ego and poor governance can erode trust and cripple a community's progress.
Your scheduled board meetings. I don't care if you agree or disagree, but you must show up to say yes or no.
Tiffany Henyard's confrontational leadership style has driven a deep wedge between her administration and the community it serves. Village board trustees accuse her of bypassing established protocols and making unilateral decisions without consultation. One of the most contentious examples was her appointment of Ronald Burge as Dalton's police chief, despite his ineligibility due to an expired state certification. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board explicitly deemed Burge unfit for the role, yet Henyard proceeded with the appointment, sparking a legal battle that underscored the dysfunction within her administration. Trustees have described her leadership as chaotic and self-serving, with one even refusing to accept compensation in protest. Reports of alleged abuse of power further tarnish her tenure, with claims that Henyard has used her influence over local law enforcement to target critics and political adversaries. Fired police chief Robert Collins filed a lawsuit alleging that Henyard instructed him to harass individuals she viewed as enemies. Trustees corroborated similar allegations, including claims that Henyard directed officers to issue tickets as leverage against board members who opposed her directives. The dysfunction extends beyond these allegations, paralyzing Dalton's governance. Frequent clashes between Henyard and trustees have stalled critical decisions, leaving key agenda items unresolved. A recent boycott by trustees Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle over concerns about transparency and unvetted agenda items prevented a quorum needed to fill a vacant board seat. Gonzalez emphasized the importance of community involvement in such processes, rejecting what he described as a superficial and opaque approach to governance. Henyard's leadership has not only plunged Dalton into financial chaos, but also eroded trust in its government. The unresolved tensions, legal battles, and lack of transparency paint a picture of a fractured administration struggling to meet the community's needs. Residents and trustees alike are calling for a shift toward responsible and accountable governance that prioritizes serving the people over personal agendas.
Has this turkey giveaway, so it isn't anything new. Yet some trustees say that Supervisor Henyard,
Tiffany Henyard's tenure as mayor of Dalton has been marked by relentless controversy, with her leadership continuing to polarize the community. In an attempt to counter growing criticism, she has leaned on publicized goodwill gestures like her annual Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. While distributing over 3,000 food baskets impressed some residents, others saw it as a diversion from the town's deeper issues, including financial mismanagement. "She's just trying to buy goodwill with turkeys while ignoring the real problems," one resident remarked. Trustees have echoed this sentiment, labeling the event as a shallow spectacle designed to mask fiscal irresponsibility. Despite the backlash, Henyard appears undeterred, even as calls for her resignation intensify at public meetings. The frustration among residents is palpable, with many demanding accountability and threatening to overhaul Dalton's leadership in the 2025 elections. Adding fuel to the fire, former allies like trustee Carmen Carlisle, once Henyard's assistant, have turned against her. Carlisle now positions herself as a whistleblower, shedding light on alleged disorganization and dishonesty within Henyard's administration. Henyard's personal life has also come under scrutiny. Recently, her landlord filed an eviction lawsuit, alleging unpaid rent since August, and claims that Henyard and her boyfriend changed locks to block access to the property. Given her reported annual income of over $300,000 across her two political roles, the situation has baffled and outraged many residents. Online commentators have not held back, with one remarking, "She's her own villain." Despite these controversies, Henyard remains defiant, launching her re-election campaign with confidence, even comparing herself to Donald Trump. Her bold declaration of coming in on a landslide starkly contrasts with the reality of her plummeting approval ratings and widespread dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, trustee Jason House, one of Henyard's most vocal critics, has emerged as a strong contender in the 2025 mayoral race. House has vowed to bring transparency, fiscal responsibility, and stability back to Dalton, offering a glimmer of hope to residents seeking a fresh start. As Dalton approaches the critical election, the stakes couldn't be higher. Henyard's leadership has been anything but ordinary, leaving the town at a crossroads. The question now is whether residents will rally for change or allow Henyard another term to further define her controversial legacy. One thing is certain, the drama surrounding Dalton's super mayor shows no signs of slowing down.